No long-winded intro today, I'm just gonna come out and say it. Cowboy Bebop is freaking amazing. I know I don't talk about it as much as I'd like to, but I'm a huge fan of sci-fi, Star Wars and Blade Runner especially, so naturally what initially pulled me into Cowboy Bebop was the imaginative idea of what the near future could look like, concocted by the 90s fascination with the sci-fi genre. From Star Wars to Blade Runner, the influences of past IPs can easily be seen here, but despite taking much from these cinematic inspirations, Cowboy Bebop is like nothing I've ever seen. The world presented to us in Bebop is so vast, diverse, and technologically advanced, but despite its large futuristic playing field, Bebop remains grounded in things we already know. Earth, Mars, Jupiter. Bebop keeps us in our solar system. And while this prevents us from exposure to the possible alien life beyond it, this offers us something arguably more intriguing, a view at how our own society has developed over the years. Starships roam the solar system and have even become a lot like present-day trucking companies. But despite this seemingly commonplace possession of starships, plenty of those on-world continue to use regular old cars instead. Astral gates allow for travel across the solar system, and atmospheric bubbles make it possible for civilization to expand throughout it. We are shown many of these settlements across the solar system, the first of which is even on an asteroid. Even on Mars, humanity has managed to find ways to thrive to such an extent that Mars has become known as a homestead for the wealthy. We get to see how these settlements, despite their unearthly nature, continue to house the lust, greed, and widespread corruption of Earth, a planet which we eventually found out was destroyed by those very things. This world is so incredibly intriguing, but if I were to talk about it to my heart's content, we'd be here all day. So let's move on to the music, which is incredible. A perfect blend of jazz, blues, opera, rock, western, and a crap ton of other genres, the music in every single scene perfectly accentuates the vibe of either the scene, the environment, or the episode as a whole, and this is doubly so for the movie. My favorite score from the show, though, is Space Lion, an absolute masterpiece of musical talent located at the end of Session 13. But it isn't just the world building and the score that makes the show great. The overall tone of the show is a major contributor to my holding it so highly. Yes, a lot of the time Bebop spends its time tackling the profound themes I'll discuss in a bit, but even so it miraculously manages to fall back from such a well-written story onto the most insane premises whenever it suits an episode. A show in which the main trio are all struggling to cope with the tragedies of their past is the same show that has a dude dressed as a cowboy take his horse up an elevator to infiltrate a masquerade ball. Honestly, that's probably my favorite of all 26 sessions. The sheer absurdity of Andy's character is just too freaking funny to me, and the fear in Teddy Bomber's voice when he first arrives is priceless.
Andy? Andy?
The show is full of hilarious absurdities like that one, from the big Chungus wannabe floating around town to Faye's never-ending streak of bad luck following her introduction into the series. It's more than just the writing that makes these episodes funny though. Oftentimes, it was the animation itself that made me laugh. Like, look at this shot of Faye. Tell me that's not the funniest image you have seen all day. Bebop's greatest strength, though, is its message, which it masterfully portrays through its three core characters. Jet Black, a former ISSP agent whose lover left him and whose partner betrayed him, is constantly reminded of these past tragedies by the artificial arm he's been forced to use following the latter. While he accepts Elisa's reasons for leaving him, he cannot help but consider the idea of rejoining the ISSP alongside his old partner when given the option. But that's when he realizes that it was his old partner who betrayed him all those years ago. Through Jet's story arc, Cowboy Bebop presents the idea that the past cannot be undone, but that doesn't mean the past is the end-all be-all of your life. It's still possible for you to move on from it and start anew. Faye Valentine did, albeit unintentionally. After a space shuttle mishap in 2014, Faye's parents were killed and she was cryogenically frozen until modern medicine could find a way to cure her injuries, which took 54 years. Unfortunately though, upon waking up, Faye had no memory of her past self. Faye did not ask for this second chance at life, yet she received it anyways, and seeing her adjust to it in Session 15 made that episode one of Bebop's best. Over the course of the series, she goes from being a selfish, backstabbing lone wolf to someone who goes out of her way to help her friends. But this change of character is not what Bebop focuses on. Again, it's the character's desire to return to the way things were that is central to her story arc. Throughout the series, it can be seen that the one thing Faye wants more than anything else is to belong. And naturally, her thought is that the only place she can belong is the place she came from. She scours the tapes she made as a kid for clues, hunts down the location of a landmark in the recording, then hurries to the location she realizes she once lived, only to find that there is nothing there. No people, no life, no home. Hardly even the foundation remains. All that's there is some cement, some dirt, and a nice view of the horizon. There is nothing for Faye here. It is impossible to get back what is lost, even after facing one's past. So instead of focusing on the life that was robbed from her, she returns to the one she made for herself and the friends she made along the way. But in the show's most tragic twist, that too fades away. The past cannot be undone any more than it can be returned to, and this is a fact that Spike Spiegel has known since before Bebop even began. So instead, Spike runs from it, filling his life with the fleeting distraction of hunting down bounties until, of course, his past catches up with him. But even when it does, he simply deals with the immediate threat, then keeps running. But as he keeps following the ultimately meaningless path of bounty hunting, he comes across someone that challenges this avoidance. And it's not Jet, or Andy, or Faye, or even Ed. In fact, the character I'm referring to isn't even in the base series. He's in the movie. The Cowboy Bebop movie is such a work of art. It takes every single aspect of an already phenomenal series and somehow manages to both improve upon and expand them. And nowhere is this more evident than with the character of Vincent. You see, Vincent was once a soldier for the Mars Army, but after some unethical as crap experiments were performed on him, he forgot not just his past, but also his relationship with the love of his life, Elektra.
Hello, Matthew.
Wait, hold on. Sorry, that's the wrong Elektra. I'll talk about her another time. I'm actually referring to this Elektra, voiced by Jennifer Hale. All that he could remember, unfortunately, was the war, as well as the expertise and trauma of a man who survived it. He found himself unable to escape his past, which tortured him through his dreams. Eventually, he concluded that the only escape was through the death of humanity on Mars, the end of the unfortunate reality he found himself in. But when Vincent comes face to face with Elektra, an integral part of his past life, and realizes how much she once meant to him, he can't bring himself to shoot her. And tragically, he dies as a result, not distraught by his impending doom or haunted by his dark past, but at peace with himself and the world that wronged him so. There's no way to truly escape one's past. It always remains with you in one way or another. For people like Faye or Jet, this fact isn't so bad, but unfortunately for Spike, his past, much like Vincent's, is vicious. But just as it was for Vincent, there's one thing from it worthwhile: love. So just like Vincent, Spike is willing to do anything, even die for his lover's sake. He leaves the Bebop to rescue Julia, prepared to die in a blaze of glory, but as the two run away, it's not Spike that falls, but rather Julia does. This puts Spike in an interesting predicament. He could return to the Bebop and continue embarking on misadventures with Jet and Faye, the latter of whom thinks she belongs alongside Spike, and live a relatively happy life. However, such a life would find him tormented by his dreams, the nightmares of his past, just as it once was for Vincent. So instead, he chooses to return to his past, this time on his terms, to put a stop to these dreams and prove to himself that he's finally alive.
Bang.
Who we are today is thanks to the actions of who we were yesterday. Maybe the you of yesterday was a criminal or a tormented soldier, or maybe you were just a kid having fun with your friends. But no matter who you used to be, make sure to never forget it. Because when you forget the past, well, it repeats itself. Your actions today will mold the you of tomorrow, so always keep that in mind, even if it means tomorrow will never come. Death comes for us all eventually, after all. So focus on what matters. Make the tough decisions. Live your best life. and find peace of mind.